Hey, I'm Jim Search, and welcome to Understanding Upstate, the podcast dedicated to exploring what makes upstate New York such a unique place. Each week, my co-host Rob Adler and I dive into a new upstate topic to better understand what's up upstate. And this week, we are locking in with the Attica Prison riots, baby. We're continuing our incarceration theme from last week. Diving in here with some, this is a fucking story, man. This is a real ass story.
Yeah, no, I think we were talking off mic, a couple times now at this point, where like I know that it happened. I know that its significance in helping some reforms happen.
Sure.
The New York State prison system, and but yeah, I don't know many details beyond that. I also know, I think oh god, I'm blanking on his name. He chants it in Dog Day Afternoon, famous New York movie.
Yeah. I forget the
he's an incredibly famous actor, and it's really it's really bad. I can't remember his name. Al Pacino, folks. That's the name I had trouble pulling.
That scrappy upstart of an actor. I hope things work out for him.
Yeah, we'll see.
I hope he's able to make a career for himself, for sure.
Hey, you know who can help us make a career for ourselves in upstate podcasting?
Mm-hmm.
It's the Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's, who can throw us a 5-star rating and write us a positive review. And you can throw in a suggestion for something you'd like us to cover in the future in that suggestion as well. We just might do it, Jim. We just might.
There's a chance.
There is a chance. And we're not going to talk about it today, but someone may have given us bewilderingly a 3-star review. So guys, we've dropped to 4.9. And in fact, statistically, we will never get back to 5-star, but you can help edge us infinitesimally closer by giving us some 5-star ratings.
You can at least keep us at 4.9, right? Like that's
that's true.
Know what I mean? We can certainly say there. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, we have too many upstate updates, and that we have 2 upstate updates.
Right.
And again, like a pretty lengthy topic today, so we're gonna push that review to next week. I'm gonna stew on it for a whole week, so I'm gonna come with some real
some incendiary rounds to fire off for this.
But Jim, without further ado, for a second there, I thought I was doing it wrong, and I panicked a little bit. I don't know if you could hear it in my performance, but the first doodaloos, I was like, "Is this how it goes?" Which is wild to say because it is very unmelodic.
Right. It's hard to you can't not make a mistake here.
It's true.
This is a proverbial cup of coffee. Like you're not fucking this up.
It's true. So I'm gonna go first.
Set it off.
I took a little trip upstate on my birthday of all days. Again, trying to also avoid thinking about who else's birthday it was. Middletown, New York, helped me do. Great, nice, 2-hour drive. There's like a certain point when you're going up that way, and like past Harriman State Park, so on the other side of the Hudson, and just the mountains kind of start to open up, and it's just beautiful. So I got to experience that little part of the drive. Middletown's I guess I would say it's kind of like foothills of the Catskills almost. Definitely have you're going past Harriman State Park, there's mountains around. It's a little bit further west than Harriman. Went and played a little pinball at a place called Rock Fantasy. It is a terrifying combination for me because I didn't know if I was going to make it back. It's a record store and a pinball venue.
Oh man.
There's a high possibility I would just disappear
relocate
into a back room and never be seen again. They're my two, safe to say, my two main vices.
Right. I'm glad you left with some money.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause I feel like they would take all your money.
Definitely spent some, but,
Okay.
It helps that pinball machines don't take credit cards yet.
Yeah. I mean, and when they do.
Yeah.
When they do.
Lock them up. But yeah, really cool spot though. It's been there for like 39 years. Really nice mix of pinball machines. It's all like black light and rock and roll posters. The owner is super nice. Seems like he's got a really cool community going there and does a lot to promote pinball.
Okay.
Pretty great, but also does a lot to promote like local music and like there are a bunch of like kids coming in. He's like, "Oh, you going to this show? You should go to this show. Like, check this band out." Like, just doing a lot of connecting for people and like it was a really cool community spot. So it was really cool to get to hang out there for an afternoon. Also stopped into a really great brewery called Equilibrium, which I've had their like I bought some of their beer.
Yeah.
Like last week and was like, "Oh, this is where I'm going. This is great." It's really cool to check out their tap room. It's like a beautiful octagonal wood kind of tap room with a lovely horseshoe bar. Big fan of a horseshoe bar. Really good food too. Check. Yeah, it like if you want a lovely afternoon, just head on over to Middletown, New York.
Head on up.
We popped into a lovely little Italian bakery. We went to I don't remember the name of it, but I got a Wally Pop. I think it's like Wally's ice cream too. Nice little like roadside, like walk up to the window and order your ice cream kind of spot. So just the best. Great, great little birthday curated by my lovely wife, who helped make the day happen. But yeah, it was a great day upstate. It's been a minute since I've gotten out to upstate New York, but
can't go wrong.
No,
can't go wrong up there.
You can't, Jim. No. It was so great. I think we should change the name from Middletown to Top Town, baby. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Top of the top.
They're too modest in Middletown.
Yeah, they've got a lot of good stuff going on there, and I think they should be celebrated more than they currently are.
It's true. Well, let's hear your Let's hear your upstate update, Jim.
All right, let's get into it. All right, so check this out. I was walking down Nostrand Avenue in New York City. I was on my way back from a comedy show that did not happen.
Ooh.
And it did not happen. So bummer for that. I was gonna go check out a friend. He had a show. The show didn't happen. Anyway, I saw two guys standing outside the show. I didn't know who they were. They didn't know who I was. But context clues told me that they were comedians. So, but didn't go any further than that. And as I'm walking, or they walk, I start walking. I eventually catch up to them. Right.
Yep.
They're standing on the corner, and one of them turns to the other one and says, "Hey, what's that? What's the food in upstate, or what's the food in Buffalo that's not buffalo wings that's famous?" And I jump in. I said, "Fellas, I'm doing something that I really hate, which is jumping into people's conversations, but this is too good. This is you are in my wheelhouse." And I said, "Are you talking about beef on weck?" And they were like, "Yes."
Nice. See, I love to do that, but then keep going. Like I'll be like beef on weck, and then I'll sprint
and then
back,
dip out.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I didn't. And again, I broke one of my cardinal rules. I jumped right in this conversation. But boy, if you're talking about upstate New York on Nostrand Avenue,
sure,
you're in luck. So we start talking, and the comedian, one of the comedians, he's from Buffalo, who, he had some really good insight onto beef on weck. He knew a lot about it.
Oh yeah,
stuff I didn't know, and I was like, "Oh yeah, like I didn't know all that, but thank you for enlightening me on that." And then I said, I was like, "Well, I'm from upstate New York," And he's like, where are you from? And I was like, I'm from Binghamton. And he's like, well, that's not really upstate. And I said, listen, man, listen, dude.
Whoa.
We were off to a great start here, sir. And here we are on Nostrand Avenue. And I don't know if that's a conversation you want to have with me. I don't know if you know what I do every week for over a year, but I talk a lot about upstate New York. So much so that some have said it's my entire personality. But I said, listen, dude.
Hey, you collect polo.
I do. I'm an unrepentant polo collector. So I said, listen, man, I'm here to let you know that you could not be further. You couldn't be more wrong, right? Because Binghamton is most assuredly in upstate New York, because it's definitely not downstate. It's definitely not anywhere near New York City. Culturally, geographically, Binghamton is very far removed. And he's like, well, and I said, there is no well. Here's what's happening. And I broke down and I gave him the world according to Jim Search about what's upstate, downstate, etc., what you Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's have heard so many times, but y'all gonna hear it again, which is if you are accessible by the Metro North, you are downstate. That is in my world, you are downstate. However, if you live in New York State and you are not accessible by the Metro North, you are in fact in upstate New York. And that is when I said Binghamton is most assuredly not accessible by Metro North. It is a 3.5-hour bus ride or a car ride from New York City.
I forgot to mention this, but now we're talking about the short line.
Sure.
Just to verify that Middletown is indeed upstate before I put in an upstate update. I was like, I gotta make sure like there's not some rogue Metro North train out there. It's a 4-hour short line bus trip. But it's like it's an 1.5-hour car drive.
There's stops. There's most assured you are making many a plenty stops before you get to Middletown.
I think it's got to be the end of that like very local but long route.
Right.
Sorry,
right.
I digress though.
No, that's salient information here. So we resolved that. Great conversation.
Did they say how they were defining upstate, or were they just like going off bullshit vibes?
It was on vibes. He went on vibes. It was, like, nah, man, that's not, just like, I think honestly, in retrospect, it was like, I don't know if he knew how far away Binghamton was.
Sure.
And I think he lumped it into like a Poughkeepsie or like a Newburgh or, you know what I mean? Like one of those towns that's on Metro North.
Yep.
And I was like, nah, dude, like it is worlds apart. 3 hours will make a world of difference in so many different facets. And then I told him about the podcast. I was like, we do a whole ass podcast all about upstate New York.
Hell yeah.
So that Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's is an upstate update.
All right. Well, I mean, it's rare we both have upstate updates.
I know. This was pretty monumental.
I know.
For both of us to unpack this.
Sounds like a 5-star episode to me. I don't know.
I mean, anything less would be uncivilized, if I'm going to be really honest with you.
That's true.
True. Well, shall we talk about the iconic Attica prison riots?
Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Let's get to it. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the background, right? What got us here, So the Attica prison riots. The uprising occurred within the context of the anti-colonial movements throughout the Third World, the Black Power movement, and the New Left movements within the United States. All this locks together. Some of the prisoners in Attica participated in the riot because they desired better living conditions, which is how every riot starts, every uprising. What are some of these conditions that these folks were living in? Prisoners spent 14 to 16 hours a day in their cells. Their mail was read, their reading material restricted, their visits from family conducted through a mesh screen. Their medical care was disgraceful, their parole system inequitable, and racism was everywhere. Now, this is prison in like the 70s.
I was just going to say, like, we currently are dealing with multiple like New York State prison crises, I think. And this is I can't imagine how bad it was then. Like, so much, probably much worse. And it's not good now.
Right, exactly. Like, having known those who have been incarcerated, trust me, it does receive 0 stars. Not a fucking place that you want to be. It sucks. It is not fun. It is pretty shitty to be in. So to think about the conditions before this are just abhorrent and pretty gross.
And Attica Prison, like, you look at pictures just to the outside, like, does not look like a new facility even in 1971. You know?
Right,
like,
exactly.
It looks... it's a terrifying facade.
Yes, indeed. So, overcrowding contributed to these poor conditions, as in recent years, the prison's population had increased from the 1,200 prisoners for which it was designed to 2,243. So, almost twice the amount of people they have put into this prison.
Yeah.
Pretty awful. Additionally, and this will come as no surprise, as in many American prisons, racial disparities also existed at Attica. Within the prison population, 54% of the incarcerated men were African American, 9% were Puerto Rican, and 37% of them were white. And now, hold on to your seats, folks. Get ready for this one, Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's. All of the guards, or all but one of the guards, depending on the source, were white. What a shocker. Guards often threw out letters written in Spanish, sent to or from Puerto Rican prisoners, and relegated black prisoners to the lowest paid jobs and subjected them to regular racial harassment. There were also geographic disparities. Most of the incarcerated men were from urban areas, including metropolitan New York, while most of the guards were from the local region, which I don't think we'll get into it this much, but there's an entire ecosystem that exists around prisons in towns like this. Like,
oh, sure.
People go to work at the prison. That is the job. Yep. Right? Everybody works there. It's benefits, it's union. So there's an economic system that relies on this prison, not even on the bigger scale, but even on the smaller town scale, right? So anthropologist Orsanmi Burton has shown that while improving prison conditions and racial disparities were an important concern, many Attica prisoners were critical of prison reform and participated in the uprising because they understood prisons like Attica as sites of revolutionary warfare. Let's fucking go. Burton therefore argued that the Attica Rebellion was informed by the politics of prison abolition. For example, in 1972, an Attica prisoner named Joseph Little told a government panel, "I'm not for no penitentiary reform. I'm for the abolition of the whole concept of penitentiary reform." Let's fucking go. Burn it all down. During this period, there was a growing culture of activism in which prisoners not only demanded better treatment, but sought to participate in broader movements for radical social transformation within and beyond the United States. And this was seen all around the country, as we just said. Incarcerated people and state authorities in Auburn Correctional Facility engaged in an ongoing conflict and confrontation between November 2nd, 1970 and June 9th, 1971. Several participants in what came to be known as the Auburn prison riots were subsequently transferred to other New York State prisons, including Attica. So who'd have thought that prisons around New York State are less than pleased? In 1971, a group of Attica inmates presented a list of 27 demands regarding improvements in living conditions in Attica to State Commissioner of Corrections Russell Oswald and Governor Nelson Rockefeller. These demands included improvements in multiple areas such as diet, the quality of guards, rehabilitation programs, and, in particular, education programs. The inmates also demanded increased religious freedom, the ability to engage in political activity, and the end of censorship, which they argued were all vital to a proper education within the prison. The commissioner did not take any action on the list of demands. Attica warden Vincent Mancusi responded by adding additional restrictions to inmates' reading materials and personal belongings. Way to solve the problem. Cool, chill. Super chill. In August of 71, George Jackson, an author and prominent member of the Black Panther Party, was shot and killed during an escape attempt at San Quentin State Prison in California. Through his writings, Jackson had encouraged imprisoned people throughout the United States to become politically active. As a result, to the shock of no one, Jackson became one of the first targets of the FBI's Black Extremists Activities and Penal Institutions program. Many incarcerated people in Attica had read Jackson's books and cited Jackson's death as a major catalyst for the riot. The day after Jackson's death, at least 700 Attica inmates participated in a hunger strike in his honor. Huh? So, there were events that were leading up to this.
Yep.
This didn't just happen because you guys got in a fight.
Yep.
There was so much that had led up to the uprising, which, Rob, you're going to tell us all about it.
All right. So on Wednesday, September 8th, 1971, two inmates fought during their recreation break, and a correctional officer came up to intervene. One inmate had already left the area, but the officer demanded the remaining inmate return to his cell. And in the ensuing argument, the inmate hit the officer. Other inmates and guards joined the commotion, and another inmate also hit the same officer, Lieutenant Richard Maroney. But before the violence could intensify, Lieutenant Robert Curtis moved to de-escalate the situation. Later that evening, Warden Vincent Mancusi ordered the two inmates, Leroy Dewar and Ray Lamoury, involved in the altercation to be taken to solitary confinement. But when the officers arrived at 5 Company to take away the inmates, other prisoners resisted. The other inmates in 5 Company shouted and threw things at the guards, and one inmate, William Ortiz, hit an officer, Tom Boyle, with a can of soup, resulting in him being assigned to keep lock or confinement to his cell. Getting hit with a can of soup, that shit would hurt. Holy moly.
Yeah, it's not going to feel good. No. And I'm okay that it happened.
Let's see. The morning of Thursday, September 9th, 1971, prisoners of 5 Company were still upset and demanded that officers tell them what would become of Ortiz. Officer Gordon Kelsey told them he did not know and tried to continue the routine. As inmates headed to breakfast, some managed to open Ortiz's cell door, and he left with them to the mess hall. When the command staff found out what had occurred, they decided to return all of the men of Company 5 to their cells after breakfast. But they did not inform all the correctional officers, and when officers led inmates out toward the recreation area after breakfast, both officers and inmates were surprised to find the doors locked. The inmates believed they were about to be punished, and a melee broke out, which resulted in chaos as some inmates attacked the guards and others tried to flee. The chaos spread to other nearby companies of inmates, and the uprising began. During this stage, several guards and inmates were injured. Officer William Quinn would die in the hospital 2 days later of injuries sustained during the initial riot. By noon on September 9th, correctional officers and police controlled about half the prison and its inmates, while 1,281 of Attica's approximately 2,200 inmates controlled the other half, including DR, 2 tunnels, and the central control room, referred to as Times Square. Inmates held 42 officers and civilian employees as hostages. Sounds like, the warden? Is that am I getting that right? Not Richard Maroney.
Vincent Mancusi?
Yeah. Warden Vincent Mancusi, had basically created a real shitty atmosphere. So when a miscommunication happened, like, yeah, you're gonna expect punishment, right? Like, basically created a powder keg.
Sure.
Through his bullshit policies.
And you know, when you put substandard conditions that are experienced by everybody's going to go, you know what? I have more in common with you than I do the people that are doing this to me. So let's fucking go. And let's turn Times Square into our own Times Square. So there you go. Well, Rob, they've got the prison. They got half of the prison.
Yeah.
And they've got some demands. They got some shit that they want.
Well, let's learn about the negotiations.
Let's talk all about it. Once inmates had secured their section of the prison, they began organizing. Inmates elected leaders to represent them in negotiations, appointed inmates to serve as medics and security, and began drafting a list of demands for officials to meet before they would surrender. For example, Frank Big Black Smith, born September 11th, 1933, and passed away July 31st, 2004, was appointed as head of security, and he kept both the hostages and observer committees safe. Additionally, 21-year-old Elliot James L.D. Barkley, an ardent orator, was a strong force during the negotiations. He spoke eloquently to the inmates, journalists, camera crews, and viewers at home. Barkley, just a few days away from his scheduled release at the time of the uprising, was killed during the recapturing of the prison.
Wow.
Fuck me. But he said this in his declaration: "We are men, we are not beasts, and we do not intend to be beaten and driven as such. The entire prison populace, that means every one of us here, has set forth to change forever the ruthless brutalization and disregard for the lives of the prisoners here and throughout the United States. What has happened here is but the sound before the fury of those who are oppressed. We will not compromise on any terms except those terms that are agreeable to us. We've called upon all the conscientious citizens of America to assist us in putting an end to this situation, and that threatens the lives of not only us, but every one of you as well." And that is from the Declaration to the People of America, read by Elliot James L.D. Barkley, September 9th, 1971. So, as speakers such as Barkley raised morale, the elected group of negotiators drafted proposals to present to the commissioner. The Attica Liberation Faction Manifesto of Demands was a compilation of complaints written by the Attica prisoners, which speak directly to the sincere people of society. It included 33 demands, including better medical treatment, fair visitation rights, improved food quality, religious freedom, and higher wages for inmate jobs. An end to physical abuse, for access to basic necessities like toothbrushes and showers every day, Jesus Christ, for professional training and access to newspapers and books, which, as you can read of the list of demands, that would lead us to believe that those are rare and never.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
The manifesto assigns the power to negotiate to 5 inmates elected to represent the others: Donald Noble, Peter Butler, Frank Lott, Carl Jones L, and Herbert Blyden X. Additionally, the document specifically lists vile and vicious slave masters who oppressed the prisoners, such as the New York governor, New York corrections, and United States courts. Ain't gonna get an argument from me. Inmates requested a team of outside observers to assist with negotiations, whom they considered knowledgeable of prison conditions, many of whom officials were able to persuade to come to Attica. Observers included Tom Wicker, an editor for the New York Times, James Ingram of the Michigan Chronicle, State Senator John Dunn, head of the prison committee in the legislature, State Representative Arthur Eve, U.S. Congressman from New York, Attorney Herman Badillo, and civil rights lawyer William Kunstler, Clarence Jones, publisher of the Amsterdam News in New York, and former advisor to Martin Luther King Jr., representatives of the Young Lords, and others. Prisoners requested Minister Louis Farrakhan, national representative of the Nation of Islam, but he declined. Inmates also requested representatives from the Black Panther Party. Bobby Seale addressed the inmates briefly on September 11th, but did not stay long, and some believe that he inflamed tensions. The prisoners and team of observers continued to negotiate with Commissioner of Corrections Russell Oswald, who agreed to 28 of the inmates' demands, but refused to agree to amnesty for the inmates involved in the uprising or to fire the Attica warden. Well, that's going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Get rid of him. William Kunstler, a lawyer who agreed to represent the inmates in negotiations, said, "The prisoners had two non-negotiable demands, the removal of the warden and general amnesty, and they had already given up on the removal of the warden. And on the general amnesty, we have worked out several formulas that we were discussing with the commissioner hours before the attack, and if we had been allowed to continue, everyone would be alive and the matter would be settled today." I believe that.
Yeah.
The situation may have been further complicated by Governor Rockefeller's refusal to even come to the prison or meet with the inmates. Go figure. Instead, Rockefeller dispatched Commissioner of the Office of General Services, Elmerin C. O'Hara, a retired National Guard Major General, as his representative and liaison. Because Rockefeller was unwilling to compromise, some analysts' later evaluations of the incident postulated that Rockefeller's absence prevented this situation from deteriorating. Okay. Negotiations broke down as Oswald was unwilling or unable to make further concessions to the inmates. Oswald and other members of the Observers Committee called Rockefeller and begged him to come to the prison to calm the situation, but he refused. Awesome. Following the governor's refusal, Oswald and Rockefeller agreed that Oswald would order the state police to retake the facility by force, a decision which was later criticized. Surprise, surprise. So surprised.
Well, let's learn about the retaking of the prison and the retaliation, shall we?
Let's get into it.
All right. On the night of Sunday, September 12th, 1971, plans were drawn up to retake the prison by force. Members of the team of observers argued for Oswald to deliver to inmates one final appeal for a settlement before the forcible retaking. Oswald agreed, but was instructed not to phrase the demand as an ultimatum, as Rockefeller did not want to let inmates know that the assault was beginning at 8:25 a.m. on Monday, September 13th, 1971. Oswald gave the inmates a statement directing them to release the hostages and accept the offered settlement within the hour. However, he did not tell them that negotiations had ended and he would take the prison back by force if they refused, even stating, "I want to continue negotiations with you."
That's fucked up.
Yep. That's what we call a negotiating in bad faith.
Yes.
The inmates rejected his offer, and as it appeared to them as though Rockefeller remained opposed to their demands, the mood among the inmates deteriorated. In preparation for prison authorities potentially taking the prison back by force, inmates had dug defensive trenches, electrified metal gates, fashioned crude battlements out of metal tables and dirt, and fortified the Times Square Prison Command Center. After Oswald left following the inmates' rejection of his latest offer, the inmates decided to try to impress upon prison officials that they were serious about their demands and to remind them that the inmates had power over the hostages if the state was to come in by force. The inmates brought 8 corrections officers to the catwalk on top of the command center and surrounded them with inmates armed with homemade weapons. According to surviving inmates, they did not intend to kill the hostages, but rather to use them as insurance. Shortly after inmates and hostages were positioned on the catwalk, Oswald gave the order to begin retaking. Of the decision, he later said, "On a much smaller scale, I think I have some feeling now of how Truman must have felt when he decided to drop the A-bomb."
See, here's the deal. Like, they knew full and hell well that they were ready to sacrifice any and everybody to get that prison back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that was the collateral damage. They were just going to do what they were going to do.
And this is not the first time we've talked about a Rockefeller sending in, armed men to.
This is true.
To solve what they view as a problem. This happened back with we're talking about I forget his first name, Lemoyne, the guy that took on one of this Rockefeller's dads or uncles. I forget whose progeny he is, but Rockefellers nonetheless. But they sent in armed guards to basically break Standard Oil strike that was happening somewhere like Texas or Oklahoma or something. And the armed men killed a bunch of innocent people. What do you know?
Yeah, shockingly so.
Yeah, so there's it's kind of a Rockefeller calling card, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so at 9:46 a.m. on Monday, September 13th, 1971, tear gas, not tear grass, that would be something different, was dropped into the yard, and hundreds of New York State police troopers, Bureau of Criminal Investigation personnel, deputy sheriffs, park police, and correctional officers opened fire into the smoke. So just shooting blindly, that's fucking crazy.
Right.
Among the weapons used by the troopers were shotguns loaded with buckshot pellets, which led to the wounding and killing of hostages and inmates who were not resisting. Additionally, some of the guns utilized by law enforcement used unjacketed bullets, a kind of ammunition that causes such enormous damage to human flesh that it was banned by the Geneva Conventions.
USA, baby.
There you go. Correctional officers from Attica were allowed to participate. Decision later called inexcusable by the commission established by Rockefeller to study the riot and the aftermath. By the time the facility was reported as fully secured at 10:05 a.m., law enforcement had shot at least 128 men and killed 9 hostages and 29 inmates. A 10th hostage, correctional officer Harrison W. Whalen, died on October 9th, 71 of gunshot wounds received during the assault. Inmate survivors alleged that leaders were singled out and killed by troopers during and after the retaking. According to a doctor who treated survivors, many of the ringleaders were approached by guards and shot systematically. Some had their hands in the air, surrendering. Some were lying on the ground. One of the leaders, Elliot James L.D. Barkley, was frequently featured in news coverage, was allegedly alive after the initial retaking. Assemblyman Arthur Eve testified that Barkley was alive after the prisoners had surrendered and the state regained control. Another inmate stated that the officers searched Barkley out, yelling his name, and executed him with a shot to the back. Sam Melville, a member of the committee that helped organize and draft inmates' demands and who was known in the prison as a radical, was allegedly shot while he had his hands in the air trying to surrender. Yep. The final death toll from the rebellion also includes the officer fatally injured by inmates during the initial uprising and 3 inmates who were subjected to vigilante killings by fellow inmates before the retaking of the prison. 10 hostages died from gunfire by state troopers and soldiers. The New York State Special Commission on Attica wrote, with the exception of the Indian massacre in the late 19th century, the state police assault, which ended the 4-day prison uprising, was the bloodiest one-day encounter between Americans since the Civil War.
Wow.
State officials, including Oswald and Rockefeller, initially stated that inmates slit the throats of many of their hostages. The false information was widely reported in the media, but less than 24 hours later, official medical examiners confirmed that all the hostages had been killed by bullets fired by law enforcement officers. The Special Commission found that state officials failed to quickly refute the early rumors and false reports. Troopers,
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Troopers and prison officers set about with physically violent and humiliating reprisals. Inmates were made to strip naked and crawl through mud, broken glass, and the prisoners hand dug latrines. Jesus Christ. State officials also subjected the prisoners to sexual violence and rape. Directed into the prison, they were forced to run hallways naked between lines of enraged officers who beat the inmates and yelled insults and radical slurs. Some inmates, including leaders such as Frank Smith, were subject to additional reprisals and punishments, including repeated physical abuse and being locked in solitary confinement. Several days after the uprising's end, doctors treating wounded inmates reported evidence of more beatings. As the repression was happening in Attica, incarcerated people in other New York State prisons, especially Auburn Correctional Facility and Clinton Correctional Facility, which we talked about last week, were subjected to similar forms of violence. Many of these men had previously been incarcerated in Attica and had been involved in political organizations.
See, and we wonder why, right?
No.
I feel like we wonder why people look at us and are like, yo, y'all are some wild motherfuckers. This is some inhumane shit that we are doing out here.
Well, and it's like, it sounds like, I mean, Rockefeller opened some bullshit committee to like look into it, but just business as usual the next day. Everyone's back at work. We got like,
right.
What the fuck were they thinking? Like, Jesus. Well, we've got some inklings of our response, Jim. Let's learn about the public response, shall we?
Sure. Let's see what the people of the United States of America had to say about this. Following the uprising, protests and riots occurred in prisons across the United States. According to the Prisoners' Solidarity Committee newsletter from September 30th, 1971, the 13 reported rebellions since the Attica massacre doubles the total number of reported prison rebellions since the beginning of the year. Numerous rallies in support of the prisoners occurred, especially in New York, but also in cities as far away as Los Angeles and Norman, Oklahoma. Several rallies in support of Governor Rockefeller also took place. In addition, activists such as Angela Davis and artists such as John Lennon wrote works in support of the inmates and condemning the official response. At 7:30 p.m. on September 17th, militant left-wing organization The Weather Underground launched a retaliatory attack on the New York Department of Corrections, exploding a bomb near Oswald's office. The communique accompanying the attack called the prison system an example of how a society run by white racists maintains its control, with white supremacy being the main question white people have to face. In response to public criticism, in November of 71, Governor Rockefeller established the New York State Special Commission on Attica, appointing members and naming Dean of NYU Law School Robert B. McKay as chair.
Again, to say he was involved, it seemed like he tried desperately not to be involved. But like, he okayed the fucking, like, hey, yeah, let's send in the boys in blue to fucking just shoot everyone.
Right.
And like, can we get some goddamn oversight? Like, what's going on? Like,
well, it's all reactionary, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is all like, after the fact, it could have been prevented, and now I'm reacting, but only because of. But it's still pressure.
Like, he could have solved the issue. He arguably created the main contributor to the bad conditions in the prisons already, and then just the fact there's like, well, I'll appoint some people to a committee. How about that?
Well, and that's what happens in these situations, right? Is like, you have a situation that was largely created by him. And then once it's blown up and looks like shit, it's now time to put together a committee. Yeah. Or a commission. Known as the McKay Commission, the commission was directed to investigate the circumstances leading up to, during, and following the events at Attica. The commission's report, published in 1972, was critical of Rockefeller, the Department of Corrections, and the New York State Police for handling of the prison retaking and for their negligence in protecting inmates from reprisals after the riot. Well, here's the thing with that. When you do things like that can only lead to lawsuits and payments. Rob, tell us about those lawsuits and payments.
All right. So in October of 1971, Robert Fisher was appointed as Special Deputy Attorney General to lead the Attica Task Force and was charged with investigating any criminal acts that may have been committed during the uprising or retaking. Fisher was later succeeded as the Attica Task Force leader by Anthony Simonetti. Within 4 years of the uprising, 62 inmates had been charged in 42 indictments with 1,289 separate counts. One state trooper was indicted for reckless endangerment, and in May of 1975, 2 former inmates were convicted in the death of William Quinn, despite the fact that, quote, only faltering evidence linked with the 2 inmates to the actual beating that left Quinn dead. Charles Pemaslice? Charles Pemaslice, who was Catawba Indian, was sentenced to a term of up to 2 years for attempted assault, and John Hill, who was Mohawk, was convicted of murder and sentenced to 20 years to life. Supporters alleged that the trial was unfairly conducted and that the men's ethnicity contributed to their indictment and conviction, with Hill's lawyer, William Kunstler, who I believe was, again, the lawyer during the uprising, doing the negotiating, saying at the sentencing, I'm not going to give the impression to the outside world that there is justice here. That's a succinct way to sum it all up, I think. In 1975, Malcolm Bell, a prosecutor in the Attica Task Force, sent a report to Governor Hugh Carey alleging that his superiors were covering up evidence in criminal actions by law enforcement officers in the retaking of Attica and preventing him from fully investigating and prosecuting law enforcement. After Bell's report was leaked to the public, Carey appointed Judge Bernard S. Meyer of the Supreme Court for Nassau County, New York, to the post of Special Deputy Attorney General to investigate. The Meyer report, released in December 75, found there was no intentional cover-up, but there were, however, serious errors of judgment, including important omissions on the part of the state police and the gathering of evidence. That sounds like a cover-up. Important omissions. By the state police. What are we doing? A judge from Nassau County saying there's no cover-up by the police? Who would have thought?
All just
Let's see. Initially, only the first of the 3-volume Meyer report was released to the public in 1981. The state Supreme Court ordered that the other 2 be sealed permanently. The Forgotten Victims of Attica, a group made up of officers injured in the riot and families of killed officers, pushed for the state of New York to release state records of the uprising to the public. In 2013, Attorney General Eric Schneiderman said he would seek the release of the entirety of volumes 2 and 3, totaling 350 pages. After redactions, 46 pages of the report were released in May 2015. The release pages contain accounts from witnesses and inmates describing torture, burning, and sexual abuse of inmates by prison authorities. In 2021, the 50th anniversary of the uprising, the Forgotten Victims of Attica, surviving inmates, families of killed inmates, historians, and lawyers continue to push the release of all records related to Attica, which is crazy that it's still sealed. I assume to this day, if was happening as recently as 2021. Let's see. Cutting back to December of 76, Governor Carey announced he was closing the book on Attica. He pardoned all inmates who had previously pleaded guilty to obtain reduced sentences, commuted the sentence of the 2 inmates convicted in court, and dismissed pending disciplinary actions against 20 law enforcement officers relating to the uprising. Let's see. Though the possibility of criminal suits was closed with Carey's decision, civil suits were allowed to proceed. Surviving inmates and families of inmates killed in the prison retaking sued the state of New York for civil rights violations by law enforcement officers and prison officials during and after the retaking of Attica. After decades in the courts, the state agreed in 2000 to pay $8 million, $12 million minus legal fees, to settle the case. In 2005, the state separately settled with surviving prison employees and families of the slain prison employees for $12 million. Frank Big Blacksmith advocated both for compensation for inmate survivors and the families of the deceased, and for their correctional officer counterparts who had been killed or injured, and they're bereaved as well.
Which they were also murdered, if you remember. They were just murdered in a hail of gunfire through tear gas smoke, right?
Yeah.
So, like...
indiscriminately.
Right. Like, it's fucked up that you've got me defending the corrections officers who got murdered, but here we are.
Yep. Yeah. That's the New York State prison system for you, Jim. What an accomplishment.
We are going to talk a little bit about some of the accomplishments, unfortunately, albeit short-lived, in the New York City or the New York State prison system. Partially in response to the Attica Uprising, the New York State Department of Corrections implemented changes including 1, providing more basics such as showers, soap, medical care, and family visits. 2, introducing a grievance procedure in which inmates could report actions by a staff member that violated published policy. 3, creating liaison committees in which inmates elect representatives to speak for them in meetings with prison officials. 4, allocating funding to prisoners' legal services, a statewide network of lawyers to assist inmates. 5, providing access to higher education. And 6, allowing more religious freedom for inmates. Well, here's what happens with that. While there were improvements in prison conditions in the years immediately following the uprising, during the tough on crime era in the 80s and 90s, thanks Bill Clinton, many of these improvements were reversed. For example, the 1994 crime bill eliminated all Pell Grants for prisoners, resulting in defunding of higher education within prisons. As a result, all university-level education programs in prisons ended with no other educational options for inmates. Overcrowding worsened, with the prison population of New York increasing dramatically to 12,500 at the time of the Attica Uprising to 72,600 in 1999. In 2011, after a man incarcerated in Attica was brutally beaten by guards for the first time in New York State history, corrections officers were criminally charged for a non-sexual assault of an inmate. The guards pleaded guilty in 2015 to a misdemeanor charge, surprise, of misconduct in order to avoid prison time. Lucky you did not go to prison.
Yeah.
In news stories regarding the incident, current and former inmates in Attica reported that the prison maintained a reputation as, quote, a facility where a small group of correction officers dole out harsh punishments largely with impunity. And inmates conveyed numerous stories of poor conditions and severe treatment by guards. Interpreting the post-Attica reforms through the lens of counterinsurgency theory and practice, anthropologist Orasomni Burton has argued that these temporary, quote, improvements to prison conditions were designed to fracture that organizing and activism taking place within prisons and to create a cleavage between the prison's population's reformist and revolutionary abolitionist elements. I agree. Divide and conquer, and that is what they did.
There you go.
Rob, this Attica riot has found its way into many facets of our popular culture. Please tell us what they are.
Yeah, so let's take a look here. First, we've got direct coverage of the Attica Prison Rebellion in preparation for the 50th anniversary of the Attica Prison Massacre. In 2021, HBO Max released a documentary titled Betrayal at Attica on August 1st of 2021. The plot is described as, on September 13th, 1971, the state of New York shot and killed 39 of its citizens, injured hundreds more, and tortured the survivors. The plan to retake D Yard led to one of the bloodiest days in American history and set the stage for the worst aspects of modern policing. Radical lawyer Elizabeth Fink tells a story of the Attica Prison Rebellion and how she exposed the cover-up that went on for decades. It sounds like it's still going on because there's still sealed documents. Screen Slate describes Cinda Firestone's documentary titled Attica, which came out in 1974, as follows. Firestone's 1974 film, restored in 2007, culls together primary footage from surveillance and news cameras, along with prisoner, family, and guard interviews to create an account of the massacre that has been described as temperate, but undeniably damning concerning the state's actions. Which, yeah, like when we kind of passed over it kind of quickly in the description just because there's so much to talk about. But like, yeah, there was news coverage, which in like 1971, having cameras on the scene, I don't know my TV history super well, but that's still got to be a relatively new thing. Like, having mobile camera units and everything, I can't have been done too much before that. And yeah, it's pretty remarkable that there's like video of some of what occurred, right? I don't think certainly didn't have cameras on the inside, but I gotta check these documentaries out. We've got some music that references we called it the prison riot at the start. I think Attica Prison Massacre is I think the HBO Max documentary called it is probably a better description. Anyway, the album Attica Blues from 1972 by Archie Shepp has also a title track called Attica Blues, is dedicated to the riot / massacre. The song Attica Part 1, 1972 by Caribbean folk singer Exuma. We've got Remember Rockefeller at Attica by Charles Mingus, who certainly did not, a man not known to mince words, included in his album Changes 1. It's from 75. Let's see, Hardcore Rap Act, 1995 by Brooklyn-based hip-hop duo Das EFX. I don't think I know that tune. I'm going to have to check.
Das EFX?
Das EFX. It's one of those group names I've read 1,000 times, but it's probably the first time I've said out loud. Das EFX. Thank you for the correction, hip-hop, or resident hip-hop expert, Jim Search.
Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
If I Ruled the World, imagine that super famous song by Nas, 1996. Also, let's see, reference. I gotta revisit. I hear that song on the radio all the time. I gotta
open the cells in Attica, send them to Africa.
Yep.
World.
Imagine
that.
There we go.
I free all. I'm not gonna do.
You did enough. You did enough. That's pretty.
I'm not gonna do the disservice to Lauryn Hill and by singing that.
It was lovely, Jim. It was
thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you so much.
We got a little poetry too. Boxer Muhammad Ali recited a poem during an interview on RTE on a visit to Ireland in July of 1972, imagining what Attica prisoners would have said before their death. TV. We got season finale of Oz, Game of Checkers. Tim McManus reveals to said that he grew up in Attica. It was a child when the riots occurred days before his birthday, with McManus hoping to prevent the deaths of the inmates and correctional officers during the Emerald City riot.
Great show, man.
Yeah, I watched it on VHS. Episode. Yeah. Probably too young.
Yeah. I was going to say, man, that is NC-17 for sure.
It is. It really is. But yeah, good
Stabler
show.
Was going crazy out there.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, when I realized that was Stabler, I was like, oh, he's terrifying. He's terrifying. He's terrifying in Oz, and he's got a menacing energy that carries over into Law and Order. Let's see. In the final season of Orange is the New Black, season 4, the prisoners rise and chant Attica, Attica. The entirety of season 5 is devoted to the rebellion itself, which contains significant parallels to the Attica Uprising. Oh my God. Yeah, Attica. Here we go. Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Attica Prison Uprising served as a source of inspiration for the Bell Riots in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Past tense. Really fucking good episode. I think it's maybe a 2-parter. Yeah. Go check out that episode of Deep Space Nine. It's deep. It's got some depth. It's not just in the title, Jim. It's a deep show.
Yeah, I feel you.
Well, that's going to close us out for our episode today covering the Attica Prison Riots and Massacre. I don't have a good pivot out of that. If you, hey guys, if you like what we do and want to learn more, subscribe, rate, and review. You know what? I like doing this show, Jim. And
likewise.
And guys, if you like what we do, that's all you got to do to help us out. Just give us. I was gonna say a couple stars. Give us more than a couple. Give us 5. But it helps out. It helps us getting to continue to learn about what's up upstate. Speaking about talking about what's up upstate, there we go. I'm back on track. Jim, you got a hint for what we're talking about next week?
Sure. Let's just say we'll be dining in the 716.
There we go. I like it. While we're waiting for the reveal of what that topic is next week, got anything our Speedy Freaks and Rattlesnake Pete's can check out, Jim?
Oh yeah. Well, listen, man. Let's say you're behind the wall, man. You locked up. You're doing a bid, and it's a long stretch you're doing. What better way to pass the time than a comedy album from me? Upstate Understandings is available on all the digital streaming platforms. Jimsearch.bandcamp.com is a good place to get it. No more vinyl. Have a couple copies of the CD left, a couple copies of the tape, a gang of t-shirts available. So go ahead and buy all of them. And of course, jimsearchcomedy.com is a good place to get a hold of me as far as show dates and shit like that. And that's all I got. Rob, they have bought everything and are going to every single show that I have coming up, but yet and still they want more. What do they do?
Let's just say that you are anyone other than a Rockefeller. Anyone other than a Rockefeller. Then I've got an album for you. It's called New York Sticky. Go check it out. It's available at Bandcamp. Well, it's available at brooklynfrequency.bandcamp.com. And it's a great little instrumental album. Check it out. You're going to love it. Also, we have a great documentary that's a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Jim's album. Link in the description for all these things. That documentary is up on YouTube for free. Go check it out. It's a lovely 30 minutes. It's great. Jim, I have a closing transition for us today.
Sure.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Well, I'm up for parole, so I gotta get on out of here. I don't know if that's in poor taste, but it's contextually makes sense. I don't know.
Sure. I think it'll work.
All right.
Bye. Understanding Upstate is a podcast hosted by Jim Search and Rob Adler, edited by Rob Adler, and music from Regal Monk.